Alrighty.
Hello,
There.
hello.
All right, go over here.
Can you hear us? Yes, no.
There.
Hello, hello.
Test, test, test.
I don't know if anybody can hear us. No?
Well, more Starfield time.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I don't think they can hear us. Uh-oh. Hello, hello. Do we need to refresh too?
Probably not.
I'd start singing to test, but just at that moment, it would go through and that would not be good. Can you hear us?
And I can keep playing Starfield, so.
Put it down.
No.
Do it.
Nope.
No, no. Yeah, not singing. Trust me. I am doing you a favor by not singing. Yay, they can hear us. So stop talking about Ken, SG. Jeez.
I'm not doing that.
That's why it's so loud. SG, can we start now?
Yeah, just a minute. Crimson Fleet Pirate's not going down easy.
SG.
Fine, 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 fine. Welcome to our presentation, Into the Starfield, a discussion.
No, we talked about this. Cut it out.
But
No.
Star. Fine.
Ken's going to fire
Escalator.
us if you don't stick to the topic.
Fine. Escalators.
De-escalation. De-escalation.
Fine, fine, fine. First of all, my name's Sweet Guy. I've been here about almost 17 years. Well, maybe it is 17. I lost count. I've done many things from DJ to clothing to, volunteer.
Driving me
Started.
crazy.
Yeah, that too. That too. Started out as guide and all that stuff. I've done a little bit of it all. As far as things that kind of pertain to what we're discussing today, I've had many years in various customer facing jobs. Anything from being, manager to just working with the customers and the public in various forms. So yeah, I've had a bit of experience having to deal with different situations, but it basically just, worked my way up from guide to now staff mod, where we help not only to oversee and make sure the guide program works smoothly from the guides up, help them out any way they need, but we also help members, help with any kind of situations that arise, dealing with things like we'll talk about today, where we might need to take care of a situation that arises, and we get called in to see what we can do about it. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of me.
Hello, I'm Laura Violet, or just Laura. I've been here a very, very long time, since April 2006. Started out as a member. Didn't think I was going to be here even a week. I came here, just a friend of mine was raving about this brand new world that he was just so excited about, and came to check it out. I didn't even have internet or a computer in my own house when I when I joined. I know I'm not encouraging it, but yes, I was logging in from work and I got hooked. RLC hooked me on this whole virtual world thing, and um, I stayed. I've never left. I've never even been gone for more than maybe a couple of days. Um, I started volunteering back in, I'd say September 2007, worked my way up through the program, and I got hired back in September of 2007. No, I started volunteering 2006, September 2006, and got hired September 2007. So I've been doing this a very, very long time, handling all kinds of issues from, helping brand new members find their way around, to some just handling arguments and trying to make everyone's experience a lot better, working with the volunteers very closely, helping to train them, helping to, get them on their way and learning the ropes and being the amazing volunteers that they are. And now, even in our roles, SG, Vixen, Tones, and myself, we help James and Ken as much as we can, and what our roles allow us to, just to kind of help take some things off their plate when we can.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's pretty much kind of a little bit about us. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. De-escalation, it's a valuable skill in maneuvering in an online world, even in the real world, especially in this high tension environment that we live in now. All the many things going on in world, different countries, different everything. It's just much higher tension these past few years. So things can get out of hand a little quicker than normal. Um, you know, both in world and in the real world. Um, they can escalate, flip of a switch.
Yeah, sometimes even just in reading someone's text, you can't get a feel for their obviously the little nuances that they when they enunciate something, or you don't get their tone of voice. So a lot of times things can get lost very quickly, and you read something completely in a different manner than how the person meant for it to come across, and that leads to a lot of misunderstandings. And then there's the anonymity that the internet provides that can embolden some to be even more abrasive than they probably would be if they were with you face to face. So then there's the fact that a lot of people come online to escape their own realities, whether, they're having a hard time at work, family life, they're feeling lonely. And sometimes those stresses, unfortunately, can come across here in world as well.
In these situations, it's extremely easy for some simple little comment, whether it's meant to be that way or not, to turn into a full-on fight.
Mhm.
This is where de-escalation really comes in handy.
So what we're going to be discussing today is customized for an online environment, particularly here in Ethiverse. However, some of them are general concepts as well that you can even use in everyday life. While, obviously we don't have the ignore function in real life. I mean, how wonderful would that be to just be able to press a button and make some people, you can't hear them or you just don't see them at all. But we do have the ability of mentally ignoring a situation or a person and, sometimes just walk away, mentally blocking the things that are directed at us and just, not dealing with it. And not dealing with it because, you're a wimp or something, but just, you're kind of being the bigger person and not egging on a situation. So here we're going to be giving you some techniques that we personally use, but there are many other situations where we have to adapt on the fly, situations that we've not had come up before. And you would think that in the many years that we've been doing this, we've seen it all, but we really haven't. Every now and then we like knocking on Ken's or James PMs and like, what do we do here? Because, we've never seen it before.
Yep, it does come up every so often, and sometimes maybe it just be some variation where we're like, okay, I'm not real sure on this, so
Mhm.
we may have to make a judgment call. And like,
Discuss it
okay,
with each other.
sometimes this we may have to say, hey, here's a line and go from there. Basically, when a situation arises, the first thing we try to do is just stop it from spreading. Just like with a regular fire, finding the root cause isn't important when the fire's still going. Basically, you've got to try to stop it from getting worse. So that's what we try to do first. We just got to stop it. We don't care who started it. We don't care who egged it on. We just need to stop it. Till that fire's out, getting to the bottom of it's almost impossible. That's where the ignore feature comes in that we stress to people a lot.
Yeah, and we say it, and I know we sound like broken records when we ask people to put someone on ignore, and a lot of people think it's just a crutch, that's kind of our way of not dealing with the situation, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. Or they just think it's simply useless. They tell us that, putting someone on ignore is not going to help because they're just going to move on to someone else and keep behaving in the manner that they're behaving. The thing is, though, for every person that someone ignores, that's one less person that's affected by that behavior. And yeah, sometimes they do move on, but it's kind of like you're removing oxygen from the flame. It does actually help little by little, one person at a time, stops that behavior from spreading. In most cases, yes, there's going to be a rare case where someone's just in the mood to be a jerk, and it doesn't matter who talks to them or what methods we take. If they want to be a jerk, they're going to be a jerk. But the majority of the time, putting someone on ignore really does help a situation. And the more we can isolate that person from everyone else, the easier it's going to be for us to contain what's going on. And we have less people making a small situation into something bigger.
Sometimes it may have those that just refuse to use ignore. Yet they decide they want to continue feeding into this flame. We try to stop them and we say, hey, just let us handle it, ignore them, whatever. And they just simply refuse. They decide they have to have the last word. They have to react. They've been hurt by whatever was said or done, and they've got to have their input. In these situations, we may have to take action against them as well. We try many times to have everyone calmly stand down so we can just address it. Just let us handle it. We'll deal with all the other stuff later. Since stopping it does take precedence, then sometimes we may have to step it up. Even if, like we said before, even if they didn't start it, this may involve removing them from the region or even removing them from world. Definitely not something we take lightly. We try our best to get them to stand down on their own first. Once we manage to get things calm to a reasonable level, then we can start assessing the situation, seeing what may need to be done. This includes speaking to the member and any directly involved. We may also message others in the room or in the region. Sometimes people say, oh, so-and-so was here. They may have more information. So we may message them, say, hey, is there anything you can input on this? And then we'll ask for any kind of documentation if they've got screenshots of what happened. Screenshots are key. They really, that shows us, hey, this is what happened. This is what was said. This is what was said before it. And that's another thing too. We don't just want to have that comment. We'd like to see the entire conversation so we can get a better context of, okay, why they might have said it. Did they just come out and just do this out of the blue? The more context we have, better. But yeah, so any kind of information we can get, whether it be people telling us what they witnessed, screenshots, everything we can get helps.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind too is that the majority of the actions that we take as far as speaking to members is going to happen in private messages, or as we all know them, PMs. It's more efficient and it's easier for us to deal with talking to the individual person privately rather than having to wade through chat going on, trying to see, who's saying what. And it helps the member also that we're talking to focus on us rather than focus on what the rest of the room is saying most of the time. Again, it's something that it's not foolproof. We are going to have people who are going to be focusing on both, but we're going to try to do as much as we can in private. And it also it allows for privacy for the member as well. What we're saying to them, not that we're berating them or anything like that, but it just gives them more privacy. And because we do things in PM, a lot of people think that we haven't done anything or we're not doing anything. They think we're just standing there, especially if we've left the region and that member's still there. They really think we haven't done anything, but that's not the case. A lot of times we've given them warnings, we've explained the rules, we've told them what can happen if they continue. So we are handling the situation, just we're not putting it out there for everybody to see. And we try to do as much of it as possible in private. And then a lot of times it seems like we're just standing there until things have calmed down. But we're also kind of looking at what else is going on. And at times we'll have members who won't speak to us in PM at all. In those cases, we do have to do it in local. We don't want to, but we have to. Um, Sometimes they just refuse. Sometimes they just won't answer us at all. Sometimes they're just so focused on what everybody else is throwing at them. They're not even looking to see that they've been PM'd by us. So sometimes we'll put it out there, so and so, please read your PM. We won't put much else out there just to get their attention. Sometimes that'll get them back to the PM. Other times it won't. And that's when we do have to do what we would normally do in PM. We have to do that in local chat.
You may ask, how does this relate to de-escalation? Well, in order to get to that point, we often have to use various de-escalation techniques in order to achieve our goals. There's no one size fits all, so each situation is its own thing. Each situation has its own challenges, has its own solutions. Varies based on the situation, the people involved, and of course, those of us handling things. Each one of us has our own style, has our own personality, and we may handle things differently than others. I handle things differently than she does.
Mhm.
And even though I started this training under her, took some pointers from her, but what I do is still my own.
Develop his own style.
And yeah, and
Otherwise, we sound robotic.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just we're completely different people, so we handle things differently. We have different personalities, different senses of humor, all that stuff. And so that makes it to where we handle it our own way. And that's the way it works best for each person doing it. Because if you're
Mhm.
trying to do it the way someone else does it, not always going to work.
No.
Yeah, I mean, each person that we deal with has their own personalities as well. You got some that's more serious. It's like, no joking. No, I don't want to hear any funny quips. Those people are boring, but, don't want to hear any funny quips. I don't want, hey, just serious, especially with authority. You're here to do a job, no funny business. And then you got the ones that are playful and, they're going to joke with you, whether it be harmless or if they're trying to get a rise out of you. So you've got all these different personalities that you're dealing with as well.
And we got to be able to read them as well too, because if we go in for someone who doesn't want to joke around and we start joking with them, that can escalate things very quickly too.
Exactly. So basically, we have to go into each situation, see all the parties involved, see all the things, and kind of customize it for each person.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. So basically, we're going to let you in on some of the techniques that we personally use to de-escalate situations, kind of some of the basics, and to try to resolve things as peacefully as we can, hopefully without having to boot someone. There are some situations, obviously, depending on the violation, where a boot is absolutely necessary. But when it comes to just like general griefing and stuff, that's actually the last thing that we want to do. We want to try to give people a chance to correct their behavior. So normally we'd only do this behind a $99 paywall, but you lucky people are going to get this for free.
Wait, free? We're not getting paid extra for this? All right, fine. Starfield it is. Bye.
SG, don't make me get Vixen to fire you again. She only does that on Thursdays.
Fine, fine. Free it is. Just giving away all our secrets.
Yes. Anyway, so one technique that involves going into a situation and watching a little bit first. So you may see us pop into a room and we don't really say anything because we're kind of watching. Sometimes we do this too because what some people may take as a fight might actually just be the way or certain people get along. Some people are kind of abrasive and aggressive towards each other, calling each other, dicks and pricks and stuff like that. And it may come across as fighting, but it's actually not. It's
Vixen
just the
really
way
is
they,
true evil. So, yeah.
yeah. but that's just the way some people get along. So we need to go in and see first what's going on. We don't just go in and just start scolding people because we could be trying to stop a situation that's not actually a fight. And, then we're kind of backtracking and apologizing and all that. So we're basically taking in what's going on. We're seeing who's involved so that we can better assess what and who needs to be addressed. Do we address the room as a whole, or can we just take it to PM with, a couple of people? Sometimes it may be a couple of people that we do need to talk to, and we do, but certain things have been said in local that we'll kind of have to put it out there in local as well. Like if misinformation's being given about, the way we handle certain things. Yeah, okay, we'll talk to people and try to calm things down, but we'll also put it out there for the room just so whoever heard whatever comment can get a better understanding of how things really are. So patience is really a big tool that we need. And it's actually, I think, the biggest tool that we have at our disposal is being patient with the situation, being patient with the people reporting and the people complaining and the people who are causing the issue. Excuse me. And without patience, it's going to just make our jobs harder. And again, it could be us making a situation escalate where it doesn't need to.
Like we have to be extremely patient when we're working with Vixen, because I mean, she is like pure evil. Sorry, I was getting off track. Anyway,
A little.
gathering information is one of the most crucial parts of moderating as a whole, and just crucial part of human interaction. Basically, whether it is just a simple, you're going to talk to this person over here, you've got to gather information, like we said before, about their personality. Are
Mhm.
they a person that likes to be joked with? Are they a more serious person? What kind of things can we talk about? Same thing goes with moderating. We've got to basically gather information to know how to proceed. Without a proper understanding of what's going on, making any sort of decision is useless.
Exactly. And it's going to help us too to make a better decision as to what kind of action needs to be taken. Do we need to, does this person need to be booted? Or do we maybe sometimes just need to move them to another room, kind of separate them from the group and go talk to them there?
And sometimes a distraction comes in handy. The situation may be tense, but not yet to the point where action needs to be taken. Sometimes just directing the conversation in another direction can help calm things down to a reasonable level. Distraction can also help when a situation's got to a critical point. Um, you know, I've picked up many things over the years from different people. Years back when I was a leader, I saw a situation unfold where a member had supposedly gotten drunk in real life and was just causing problems with everyone in the room. They didn't care. They were just causing problems. Sitting in a hot tub, doing his best to make everyone there upset. And in comes Mr. T, who's a senior staff member who originally helped form the volunteer program along with Innovator. He came in, walked right over to the member, stripped down naked, and offered him a hug.
I remember this.
The member was hesitant at first, and everyone else was laughing. Then he finally got up and accepted the hug. For the rest of the night, he didn't cause a single issue.
Yep.
I've since adopted a revised version of this, fully closed, of course.
And we thank you for that.
I think everyone does. Many times, simply offering a hug's either stop the member, stop them what they're doing, maybe got them to laugh a little bit, or just like, okay, you're cool. You're not just here to boot me or whatever. I'll calm down for your sake. Or they just got upset and rage quit. That happens too. And that's actually kind of fun. Offer a hug and they rage quit because they don't like that you're actually being a nice guy.
That should be nice.
Just because they didn't get the reaction they wanted. And that is one thing Some of these people are here to get a reaction.
They're baiting you.
Yeah, they want a reaction, and if they don't get it, they either stop or leave. Of course, no technique is going to work 100% of the time.
I often offer cupcakes, and that actually at times that actually it sounds silly because I can't unfortunately hand out cupcakes, but it catches people's attention and it makes them stop. And even some of the people who were latching on to maybe the person who was complaining and the main person causing the issues or fighting with that person, it makes them stop. And all of a sudden, you've got a trans full of people talking about cupcakes. The one person's still trying to cause trouble, but everybody else is pretty much ignoring that person at that point. And, it's all happy and cupcakes at that point. But like SG says, sometimes they are just really trying to get a reaction from you. They're baiting you. And that's the worst thing we can do is fall for that because it's ruining your day as well. It's ruining our day if we let it, if we start reacting to that behavior. The more they can upset people, the more they're enjoying it. They're sitting on the other side of their computer laughing and having a ball while you're like yelling at your screen and ready to throw it out the window because you're frustrated at this member. So in these cases, we like to switch gears and we try to be intentionally more understanding and concerned, sometimes even just putting a little smile at the end of whatever you've said to them, because they're seeing that they're not getting to us. They're not making us angry. They're not, we're not upset by what they're doing. We may internally be, but we're not showing it. And
Nope.
that really helps a lot. We may also encourage others to, try not to show any signs of being annoyed or angry with them because that's what they want from you. If, you know, they're just some people just get off on that kind of thing. So we kind of try to kill them with kindness and it does work. Believe it or not, it really does work. They really do sometimes rage quit when they're not getting that response that they crave. And hey, guess what? You've just gotten rid of someone and you've not necessarily ruined your own day by fighting with them.
Yeah, I've had some come in and just outwardly say they want to be banned. I mean, they specifically said,
Mhm.
I want to be banned. What's it going to take for me to be banned? Well, of course, we don't want to ban anyone. I mean, even if they're trying to get banned, we don't really want to ban them.
I've had times where I wanted to ban SG, just say.
Yeah, well, I want to ban Vixen all the time, but yeah, basically just, they just come in, they're wanting to cause problems and for various reasons. Unless they violate some bigger rule, such as a racial, homophobic slur, some other thing that we have a definite no tolerance policy on. I'll just sit there and let them go at me. Hey, give me everything you got. And sometimes I'll even say, is that all you got? Come on. You really want to keep doing this? Just let them have it. And then I'll ask if they feel better. And either at that point, they'll either give up or they'll ramp it up. Some people will ask, why do you let them just sit there and do this? Especially when there is a rule specifically saying you can't do that. Well, I mean, first of all, if they're going after us, they're not going after everyone else.
Mhm.
So, I mean, hey, we're paid to take it.
Yep.
So if they're abusing us, they're leaving the rest of the members alone. Secondly, many times they come in just to see and just to prove, quote unquote, how boot happy we are.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, oh look, I just came in, and that's another thing. They often leave out the fact that they came in specifically stating they want to get banned. But they come in and then try to get us to boot them and then say, hey, oh, look, I just came in doing this and they booted me for no reason.
No reason at all.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, some of them are just doing it so they can prove how boot happy we are
Yeah.
and tell everyone how unjust the system is. And basically, by going against what they hope to achieve, we not only prove them wrong, but also frustrated them for all the time they wasted trying to do it.
Mhm.
Bonus points for getting to throw out various quips while they try to make us mad. Yeah, that's
And
always fun.
yeah, and there are even times when whatever method we've chosen um, to take with that member, it may strike a chord with them. Be it if we were joking with them, trying to hug them, being understanding of their frustration, because that's also key too. Understanding why they're upset, understanding, whether it's that they're upset at the site, they're upset with staff, a volunteer, or with another member. Just understanding that they are frustrated and upset sometimes helps them to be like, oh, okay, they're seeing my side of things. Or just even sometimes having quick comebacks for their trolling because trolls don't like to be trolled. And obviously, we never cross any lines or anything, but sometimes just having a quick comeback to that makes them stop. Like I've became friends with someone some years back because he was in there just trolling hard and people could not stand him. I went in and I had an answer for everything he was saying. I had him scrambling and he even stopped trolling everyone else to PM me and like, girl, you've got me scrambling. I don't know how to reply to you. And that stopped him. Everyone else went on for the night, got to talking to him, and he calmed down a lot considerably just from that. But again, we do it within reason. We're not sitting there firing back and insulting and all that. You got to know what to do and what to say within a certain limit. Um, but it makes them stop and think, and sometimes not just calm down, but they'll even become friendly with us. Throughout my years doing this job, I've actually made some pretty good friends just by not necessarily, arguing with them and fighting with them. And, you may not start out on the right foot, but you end up on the right foot. And that's a good thing. That means that we're doing our jobs properly. We're calming people down and they're becoming more productive members of society. In some cases, of course, again, like SJ said, not every method works, not everything is foolproof, not everything's 100%, but a lot of times it does work. And that's where patience, again, comes in. It's so key to what we do. It does really help our members see that we're here to try to make not just everyone else's experience better, but theirs as well, even if this means that we're not carrying out the actions that some of you may want us to take. If someone's just being a bit of a jerk and you call us in and hey, boot this guy, you're seeing that we're patient. I've had members message me and go like, wow, you've got a lot of patience dealing with this person and they understand why I didn't just go in and remove them from the site.
Yeah. And sometimes members just want someone to listen,
Mhm.
someone to actually really hear them. Yeah, it's easy to just say, yeah, I'm listening, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, to actually have someone there to sit and listen to what they say and to really hear them. Sometimes they just need to vent and aren't very good at letting their frustrations out in a productive manner. So they come in, cause trouble. That's just their way of releasing steam and trying to get some of those pressures that we talked about at the beginning, try to release them because they have no other options. And in those cases, more often than not, just hearing them out and genuinely caring about what they're saying is all they need. Sometimes they just need a place to just let it out. Hey, you want to come just vent my PM, even if I don't have to reply? If you just need a place to just yell, scream, whatever, hey, sometimes that's all you need. Um, but yeah, just sometimes just hearing them out is all a person really needs to be able to calm down and gel with everyone else.
And
Uh,
SG's a very good listener. I know because I've vented to him many times throughout the years.
yeah, yeah, and she has too. So She's listened to me many times too. I mean, mental health, it's something that a lot of people are kind of afraid to talk about. Um, and they think, oh, I'm perfectly fine. I don't have any issues, but everyone has some sort of issues, whether it be something super minor, just you got to get something off your chest for the rest of the week, whatever. We all need to focus on our mental health, and having some way to express that can help. It's something that's very often ignored, and even those with great overall mental health can sometimes just have a breakdown. They may not have someone that they can converse with or confide in, so their only safe, quote unquote, recourse is to take it out on people online.
Yeah.
No giving out my number.
I've already slipped it to them in PM.
555 Starfield. But I think that's basically all we have right here. Like we said before, I mean,
The basics.
yeah, I mean, every situation has its own things. So there may be things that we didn't think of, we didn't put here. So now we're going to open it up to Q&A. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and feel free. Just keep in mind there is a slight delay on the voice. So if you type it in, we may answer, but there may be a little delay. So bear with us.
They want to know your office hours.
At night when everyone else logs off, basically. So
You're free to come to vent to me too, but I'm just going to direct you in his direction.
but yeah, seriously, I mean, sometimes if you just need a PM box to just yell in, even if you don't care if we respond or not, you know,
I
some people,
oftentimes don't reply to him, so he's used to it.
I've seriously had people just say, just message me and say, you don't need a reply. I just need a vent. And so I just let them vent in my PM.
Yeah, I've had some message and they're complaining about something or someone. And after they're done, before I'm already typing up my reply and they're like, you know what? I feel better now. I just needed to get it out. I'm sorry to have bothered you. And then they log off. So you can't even reply. Sometimes it helps.
Yep.
Thank you, Crystalic. I'm sorry if I'm mangling your name.
But yeah, so are there any questions? Any specific situations that you want to know about, or anything about how we handle things? Now's your time. I mean, apparently we're doing this for free, so might as well do it. I'm not getting paid extra for this. I mean, come on.
Chris, okay. I will keep that in mind. Nothing at all?
The real thing is if you really need to just yell at someone, message Vixen. If you can't catch her in World, just flood her inbox on her profile. Just throw out all the bad stuff you can think of. Tell her I sent you.
She's going to fire you again. It's a weekly thing. It really is.
Yeah, that's another, what we talked about earlier. I mean, it's like people have different ways of interacting with. We constantly insult each other because we're so close friends. And to outsiders, yeah, that looks like
we
we're
don't
causing
like each
problems.
other. Yeah. But we really love each other.
Yep. Well, sometimes.
Only from 4 to 6 during happy hour.
But don't tell Vixen, I don't want her to actually think I care about her or anything.
Oh, I've already messaged her to let her know.
Damn it.
But yeah, I mean, please don't ever think that our volunteers, especially our protectors and community moderators, aren't actually doing anything. And if they're not booting, it's not because um, that's not necessarily because they don't want to. Sometimes they do, because sometimes someone just kind of gets to you like that. But they're really following protocol, and that booting is our absolute last resort for griefing type of situations.
That's a good question, Jane. I mean,
It can
it
sometimes.
not as much as it used to be, because I mean, with the kind of dissolution of the language DIMs, they're a little more kind of integrated and mixed together. So it's I haven't had that much of an issue in the recent year or so, but yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just they're not be able to get their point across properly
Yeah.
because they are not
And sometimes some of the
grasping it.
things that they're saying, the way they're saying it in like a broken English, can come across as a lot more abrasive or aggressive than they're actually meaning it to. And that will cause issues among members at times.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's just even if they do speak English, dialect, all the different regions in the US alone, all the different ways of saying things.
It took
I
me
mean
like 2 years to fully understand SG's redneck.
and that right there is another thing. The term redneck, I mean, that can be seen as an insult, that can be seen as a derogatory slur.
Mhm.
And then it also depends on
The
how you're
person.
saying it, and who you're saying it to. If you're just using it as a plain old insult to me, yeah, I might be offended by it. But
Right.
at the same time, I proudly admit I'm proud to be a redneck.
He does all the time.
But yeah, I mean,
But I
it
know this
can.
about him because of our years of friendship. It's not something that I would go in and just immediately start calling him that, or even Country Boy, who was calling himself a redneck earlier as well. Um, I know SG. I've known him pretty much since he joined. He joined a few months after I did. But again, because I know him as well as I do, I know that I can say it in certain ways, and he takes it for how I mean it. And that's never, ever as an insult.
Yeah, I mean, and you can call someone, oh, he's just an old redneck. That's not as bad as, oh, he's just an old dumb redneck.
Yeah.
Okay, see, you kind of switched it to a difference. So yeah, both English as a second language and just being from a different region, those kind of variances in the way people talk can make some tense and interesting situations.
Yeah. And sometimes too, yeah, English as a second language, they may not fully understand how we're trying to say something. And it can cause a few issues, but it's not something that happens often. Any other questions? That was a great question, by the way, Jane.
Yeah, it was.
Anyone else? You have us for a few more minutes. Honestly, sometimes we have to ask. There are times when we can tell. Again, sometimes language barriers don't help with that. Other times they do. But there have been times where we've had to PM people and are you joking around? Are you being serious? Are you joking with this person? I've had to PM people like, okay, are you two friends? Are you two just joking with each other, or are you guys actually fighting? Because sometimes you're right, it is hard to tell.
Yeah, it can be very, very difficult sometimes.
And that's where we have to find out for sure rather than just assuming that someone means it as humor, because someone, even if they mean it as humor, someone could be offended by it. And in those cases, even if they mean it in a humorous way, we do have to go in and say, hey, I know you're joking, but you also have to be cognizant of the fact that others aren't going to take it as joking or may not understand the joke and can and will be offended by it. And their feelings are just as valid. And I've had people like, okay, you know what, you're right. I didn't stop to think about that. I just won't joke that way anymore. Yeah, I've had people ask me straight out if SG and I don't like each other. Like, are you two really friends or you two just really don't like each other?
Yeah. And then, yeah, like me and Vixen, I mean, we really,
They go at each other all the time.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, but I mean, Vixen is one of my closest friends. And now that I've all told you that, I have to ban you all. So,
He can't have any witnesses.
but yeah, seriously, I mean, yeah, we go at it like crazy. But I mean, yeah, it's just that's how we are. And
It, yeah, it really can be. It really can be difficult. But, and that's why we try to explain to who, you know, the person, sometimes explaining to the person that was offended why they find it humorous, but also being understanding as to why they're offended. We can't just go in and be like, well, they're being funny, get over it. No, trying to be understanding of why they were offended by something kind of helps to calm them down and helps them to see that, okay, I get why people are finding it funny and all that. And it's tricky. It is tricky. And a lot of times we tell our volunteers too, if you're unsure, message us. We'll talk about it. We'll see what's going on and we'll go from there. Sometimes asking, like sometimes I'll bug SG and be like, hey, how would you take this? Or are you taking this in the same way that I'm taking it? Because the same thing has happened at times with like what could be deemed as a racial or a homophobic slur. Like it's like towing the line. So I'll message him or Vixen just to get advice. And that helps a lot too, is seeing it from someone else's point of view.
mhm. And yeah, with like Spanish, for instance, I mean, there's some of these words that, can be something from a minor slight to, you're just flat out, causing a slur. And sometimes I have to, 'cause Google, for all its um greatnesses, it has some weaknesses. And sometimes I have to message Laura and say, hey, um, is this as serious as I think it is? Or
Yeah. Well, and like years back, I don't know if he's still around. We had a member who was named this. Many know that as a slur. However, in Spanish culture, that's actually a nickname. We pronounce it, we don't pronounce it how it's pronounced as a slur, and I don't want to pronounce it as a slur, but in Spanish, we pronounce it Quique, which is actually short for the name Enrique. It's a nickname for it. And that this guy was a Spanish member, and that was how he pronounced it. But there were a lot of members who were offended, or not, I wouldn't say a lot, excuse me, but there were some members who reported it, not because they were necessarily offended, but they knew the word and they knew it was offensive. I had to go in and explain. Once it was explained, they were fine with it. They're like, oh, okay. They're like, wow, I thought that was pretty bold to have that as a name, which believe it or not, we have actually had people bold enough to have slurs as name, but that's one of those situations where it's a language thing. And we go in and look at their profile, and that's where I saw that he was a Spanish member or Spanish speaking member, and knew that's what the name came from. But that's it for me.
All right. Anyone else? Final
Going,
call.
going once. Going twice. And if anyone wants to buy SG, you can message me.
Hey now, not for sale. But if you want to, you know, send any more questions, you can send them there.
Thank you for listening to us ramble for the last hour. We appreciate you guys being here and taking in what we were saying. Hopefully, you guys have gotten a better understanding of how we go about trying to moderate some of these situations.